I came home from my Alaskan cruise on a Tuesday, 2 weeks away, glaciers and whales and new friends at the captain's dinner. The house looked the same, ranch-style, brick. The rose bushes needed deadheading. I'd get to them later. Linda, my neighbor, had been bringing in the mail. She'd left it stacked on the kitchen table. I dropped my suitcase in the hallway, made coffee, sorted through the pile while the pot brewed. Bills, catalogs, a postcard from my book club about next month's selection, and a white envelope, official looking. Return address, Cook County Recorder of Deeds. I almost didn't open it. Official letters always made me nervous. Property tax reassessments, homeowner association notices. Nothing good ever came in those envelopes, but I opened it anyway. Inside was a document. Legal size paper, heavy stock, an official seal in the corner. I unfolded it at the kitchen table. The afternoon sun came through the window. Bright, too bright. I had to squint to read. Quitclaim deed. I knew what that was. Tom and I had signed one when we'd refinanced years ago. Simple form. Transfers property ownership from one person to another. I scanned the document. Property address. Mine. Legal description. My house. The one I'd lived in for 40 years. Raised Rachel here. Buried Tom's ashes in the garden. At the bottom, 2 names. Grantor. Margaret Collins. Grantee. Rachel Marie Collins. I read it again, slower this time. The words didn't change. My signature was at the bottom, or something that looked like my signature. Margaret Collins in blue ink. Neat, even, almost too neat. I pulled out my checkbook from my purse, opened it to the register. My real signature. The one I'd written thousands of times. The M slanted left, the G had a loop, the S trailed off. I looked at the deed again. The M was straight, the G was tight. The S ended abruptly. This wasn't my signature. I sat down, my coffee mug was still on the counter, steam rising, but I couldn't get up to get it. My legs felt strange, heavy. I looked at the date on the deed. June 14th, June 14th. I pulled my phone from my pocket, opened my photos, scrolled back 2 weeks. There, June 14th. The ship's welcome party, me in a blue dress, champagne in hand, a glacier in the background. I was smiling. I'd been on a cruise ship in Alaska on June 14th. I hadn't signed this deed. My hands were shaking now. I read the document a 3rd time. Every word, the property description, the legal language, the notary seal, Karen Brennan. I didn't know anyone named Karen Brennan. I picked up my phone, called Rachel. It rang 4 times, 5. Voicemail. Hi, this is Rachel. Leave a message. I hung up. Waited 30 seconds. Called again. Voicemail. I set the phone down on the table, next to the deed, next to the photo of me on the cruise ship, smiling, happy, while someone was signing my name, transferring my house. I stood up, walked to the front window, looked out at my house, my yard, my rose bushes, the mailbox with my name on it, the driveway where Tom used to park his truck. 40 years. This house had been mine for 40 years. I looked down at the deed in my hand, at Rachel's name, at the signature that wasn't mine, and I wondered, was it even mine anymore? The next morning, I made coffee at 6, like always. Tom's mug sat in the cabinet, navy blue with white lettering, world's best accountant. I reached for it, then stopped. My hand was still shaking from yesterday. The county letter sat on the kitchen table. I couldn't stop looking at it. I'd lived in this house for 40 years. Bought it in 1985. Tom and I were 31. Just married. He was starting his accounting practice. I was teaching English at the high school. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, a 1/4-acre lot in a subdivision 20 minutes outside Chicago. We could barely afford it, but it was ours. We raised Rachel here. Her first steps were in this living room. Her height marks were still on the doorframe in the hallway. Kindergarten, 5th grade, high school graduation. Tom died 5 years ago. Heart attack, sudden. I'd been alone in this house ever since, but it had never felt empty, not until yesterday. The house was worth about $380,000 now. The assessor's letter last year had said so. It was paid off. Tom had made sure of that before he died. No mortgage, no liens, just property taxes and insurance. My teacher's pension covered that. Social Security covered the rest. I wasn't rich, but I was secure. Or I had been. I went out to the garden that afternoon. The roses needed deadheading. I kept a pair of pruning shears in the garage. Tom's workshop was still in there. His table saw, his drill press. I hadn't touched them. Couldn't bring myself to clean it out. 5 years and I still expected him to walk through that door, ask me to help him measure a board. I knelt down by the rose bushes, red ones, the kind that come back every year, but I couldn't focus. Every time I looked at the house, my house, I wondered, was it still mine? I went back inside. That evening, I walked past the hallway photos. Rachel at 5, gap-toothed smile. Rachel's high school graduation in her blue cap and gown. Her wedding day 8 years ago. I'd paid for all of it. Every milestone. I'd given Rachel everything I had. $85,000 for college. State school, but still. 4 years of tuition and room and board. I'd taken it from my retirement account, paid the penalty. It was worth it to see her walk across that stage. $40,000 for the down payment on her first house. She'd been 26, just divorced from her first husband. She needed a fresh start. I gave her the money, no questions asked. She lost that house to foreclosure 3 years later. I never said a word. $22,000 to bail her out of credit card debt 3 years ago, after the foreclosure, after the second divorce. She'd been crying on the phone. "Mom, I can't breathe. The interest is killing me. I just need this one thing." So I paid it. Maxed out my home equity line of credit. Took me 2 years to pay it back. And the small loans, $500 here, $1,000 there. Just until payday, Mom. Payday never came. I kept a list once. Stopped when it hit $15,000. It was too depressing. $162,000 over 20 years. I'd given my daughter $162,000. I thought I was helping her get on her feet. Rachel was 42 now, divorced twice, no kids. She'd lost her job 8 months ago. Retail management. The store had closed, not her fault, but she hadn't found anything since. She was renting a house on the west side. Small, 2 bedrooms. I'd helped with the security deposit. Of course I had. She'd been visiting more often lately, staying for dinner, asking questions, casual questions. "Mom, have you thought about estate planning?" "What happens to the house when you're gone?" "Maybe we should add my name to the deed, just in case something happens to you." I deflected. "We'll talk about it later, honey." Let me think about it. I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to think about dying. I didn't want to think about Rachel managing my affairs. Tom had warned me. The year before he died. We'd been sitting on the back porch. Rachel had just called asking for money again. $3,000. Car repairs, she'd said. Tom had shaken his head. "Maggie, you need to stop," he'd said. "She's 40 years old. She needs to figure it out herself." "She's our daughter." "I know, but you're enabling her. And someday when I'm gone, you need to protect yourself. Keep the house in your name. Don't let her talk you into anything. Promise me." I'd promised, but I hadn't kept it. I'd kept giving her money, kept helping, kept saying yes when I should have said no. My neighbor Linda knocked on the door that afternoon. She'd lived next door for 10 years, retired nurse, 71, widow like me. Her husband had died of cancer. We'd become friends over morning coffee on her porch. "How was the cruise?" she asked. She was holding a plate covered in foil, green bean casserole. Linda made casseroles when she was worried. "It was good. Thank you for getting the mail." "Of course." She paused. "Maggie, I need to tell you something." I led her into the kitchen. We sat at the table. The deed was still there. I'd left it out. Evidence. That's what the lawyer would call it later. Evidence. "Rachel was here while you were gone," Linda said. "Twice. I didn't think much of it the first time, but the second time she had a man with her. Suit and tie, professional looking. They were here for about an hour. My stomach dropped. When? June 14th. I remember because it was my granddaughter's birthday. I'd just gotten back from her party. June 14th, the date on the deed. Did you see what they were doing? I saw them go inside. Rachel had a key, I guess. And when they left, Rachel was carrying boxes, like file boxes. I thought maybe she was helping you organize or something. I waved at her. She didn't wave back. File boxes. My financial documents, my important papers. Tom's folder. The one labeled important papers in his neat accountant's handwriting. Did Rachel say anything to you? I asked. No, she just got in her car and left. The man followed her in a separate car. I didn't think anything of it. I thought you knew she was here. I hadn't known. I'd been on a cruise ship watching whales breach in the Pacific, and Rachel had been in my house, with a man in a suit, taking my documents. Linda put her hand on mine. Is everything okay? I looked at the deed, at Rachel's name, at the signature that wasn't mine. I don't know, I said. After Linda left, I thought about Rachel, my daughter, the baby I'd rocked to sleep in this house, the girl who'd cried when I dropped her off at college, the woman who'd called me crying after each divorce. She'd started gambling after the second divorce, 3 years ago. Her ex-husband had been controlling, emotionally abusive, the therapist had said. Rachel had found escape at the casino, small bets at first, just for fun, then bigger. She'd mentioned it once, laughing nervously. Just to blow off steam, Mom. It's nothing. I should have paid attention, but I didn't want to see it. Didn't want to admit my daughter had a problem. So I'd looked away, sent her money when she asked, never questioned what she needed it for. I was conflict avoidant, always had been. Tom used to joke about it. Maggie would rather eat glass than have an uncomfortable conversation. He wasn't wrong. I'd spent my whole life keeping the peace, saying yes when I meant no, avoiding confrontation, being the good mother, the helpful mother, the mother who never said no, and now my daughter had stolen my house. That night, I couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m, I got up, went to the filing cabinet in my home office, found the folder Tom had given me years ago, important papers written on the tab in his handwriting. Inside was our original deed from 1985, when we'd bought the house. I pulled it out, looked at my signature at the bottom, Margaret Collins. The M slanted left, the G had a loop, the S trailed off. I held it next to the quitclaim deed, the one from the county, the forged one. Nothing alike, not even close. Rachel finally called back on Wednesday morning, 2 days after I'd found the deed. I was sitting at the kitchen table. The document was in front of me. I'd been staring at it for an hour. My phone rang. Rachel's name on the screen. I answered. Hello? Hey, Mom, how was the cruise? Her voice was light, casual, like nothing was wrong. I took a breath. Rachel, I got a letter from the county recorder. There was a pause, long enough that I thought the call had dropped. Mom? About a quitclaim deed, transferring the house to you. Another pause, longer this time. Oh, she said. That. I was going to tell you about that. You forged my signature. Mom, no, you're confused. You signed it before you left on the cruise, remember? We talked about it. You said it made sense for estate planning, in case something happened to you. I looked at the deed, at the signature that wasn't mine. I didn't sign anything, Rachel. Mom, you did. You're just not remembering. It's okay. It happens. You're 68. Memory gets fuzzy sometimes. Memory gets fuzzy. I felt something cold settle in my chest. I was on a cruise ship on June 14th, I said, the day this was signed. I have the boarding pass. I have photos. You must be looking at the wrong date. We signed it before you left, early June. You're just misremembering. She was so calm, so certain. For a moment, just a moment, I wondered if she was right. Had I signed something? Had I forgotten? No. I looked at the signature again. The M was wrong. The G was wrong. Everything was wrong. Rachel, this isn't my signature. Mom, you're getting yourself worked up over nothing. The house is still yours. You live there. Nothing's changed. I just wanted to make sure things were taken care of if something happened. You know, after Dad died, there were so many complications. I didn't want that to happen again. After Dad died. She was using Tom, using his death to make me doubt myself. Nothing's changed, I said. The deed says the house is yours now. Legally, yes, but you're not going to get kicked out or anything. God, Mom, I'm your daughter. I would never do that to you. You said you wanted me to have the house eventually anyway. This just makes it easier. Less taxes, less paperwork when the time comes. When the time comes. When I died. She was already planning for when I died. I need to go, I said. Mom, don't be upset. You're overreacting. Everything's fine. I hung up. My hands were shaking again. I set the phone down, looked at the deed, at Rachel's name. You're confused. You're not remembering. Memory gets fuzzy. Was I confused? Was my memory fuzzy? No. I'd been teaching English for 35 years. I knew my own signature. I knew when I'd signed documents, and I knew I hadn't signed this one. I needed proof. I went to the kitchen drawer, the junk drawer where I kept takeout menus and pens and things I didn't know where else to put. I'd borrowed Rachel's iPad last month. She'd left. Her charger here when she'd visited. I'd put it in this drawer. Maybe she'd left other things. I pulled everything out, menus, coupons, a screwdriver, and a piece of paper, folded. I unfolded it. A credit card statement. Capital One. Rachel Marie Collins. Current balance, $47,312. I sat down. $47,000 on a credit card. I scanned the charges. Rivers Casino, $1,200, $1,800, $2,000. BetOnline.com, $500, $800. Grand Victoria Casino, $3,000. The charges went back 2 years. Page after page. Casinos, online betting sites, cash advances. At the bottom of the statement, minimum payment due, $1,896. Payment 30 days past due. There was another paper clipped to the statement, a letter from a law firm, Goodman and Associates, foreclosure proceedings, property address, Rachel's rental house, amount due, $16,244, and another paper, a receipt, Goodman and Associates, legal consultation fee, $800. Date, May 28th, 2 weeks before my cruise, 2 weeks before the deed was signed. Rachel had consulted a lawyer 2 weeks before she'd forged my name. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't confusion. This was planned. I sat at the kitchen table, the credit card statement in front of me. $47,000 in gambling debts, $16,000 behind on her house, $800 to a lawyer. The afternoon light changed. It was 3 o'clock, then 4, then 5. The shadows got longer. My coffee got cold. I didn't cry. Not at first, but eventually I did. Not loud, just quiet tears that I wiped away with the back of my hand, because the daughter I'd raised wouldn't do this. The baby who'd taken her first steps in this living room wouldn't forge my signature and steal my house, but she had. I needed to know more. I pulled out my laptop, Googled the name on the deed, Karen Brennan, mobile notary, an address on Route 34, a phone number. I called the county recorder's office. A woman answered. Professional. Kind. I have a question about a deed that was filed, I said. A quitclaim deed. For my property. Of course. Do you have the document number? I read it to her from the letter. Yes, I see it here. Filed June 15th. Notarized by Karen Brennan. Can you tell me who filed it? Let me check. It was filed by mail, but the notary's information is on file. Would you like that? I already have it. Thank you. I hung up, looked at Karen Brennan's number. Filed by mail. Rachel had mailed it. after forging my signature, after having it notarized. She'd mailed it to the county while I was on a ship in Alaska. I sat in my car in the grocery store parking lot 20 minutes later. I'd driven there without really thinking about it, just needed to move, needed to do something. The county clerk had been kind, professional. She'd given me the notary's name without hesitation, Karen Brennan. I wrote it down on the back of a receipt. My hand wasn't shaking anymore. That worried me more than the shaking had, because I wasn't scared anymore. I was angry, Linda called that evening. Can I come over? Of course. She arrived with coffee, 2 cups from the diner down the street. We sat on the front porch. The sun was setting, orange and pink. I've been thinking about what I told you, Linda said, about Rachel being here. I should have mentioned it sooner. You didn't know anything was wrong. Still, I saw that man, the one in the suit. He had a briefcase, one of those accordion folders, and when they left, Rachel had boxes, 3 or 4 of them, file boxes. Did you see what was in them? No, but they looked full, heavy. Rachel had to make 2 trips to her car. My financial documents, bank statements, tax returns, my important papers, everything Rachel would need to make it look like she had my permission. Did the man say anything? I asked. No, he just got in his car and left. It was a gray sedan, newer. I didn't get the plate. That's okay. Linda twisted her wedding ring, a habit she had when she was nervous. Maggie, what's going on? I showed her the deed. She read it. Her face went pale. She forged your signature? Yes. Oh my God. Maggie, you need to call the police. I need to talk to a lawyer first. I need to know what I'm dealing with. Linda reached over, squeezed my hand. I'll testify. If you need me to. I'll tell them what I saw. Thank you. That night my phone buzzed. A voicemail. Rachel. I almost didn't listen to it, but I did. Her voice was different this time. Not casual, not calm. She was crying. Mom, I'm drowning. I lost my job 8 months ago. The house is in foreclosure. I owe more money than I'll ever make. I didn't know what else to do. I thought you'd understand. You always helped before. You always said you'd take care of me. I just need this one thing. Please. Please don't be mad. I can't lose everything. I can't. The message ended. I saved it. For the lawyer. For evidence. Because I realized something sitting there in my kitchen. Rachel had my house key. She'd always known where I kept the spare, under the mat by the back door. Tom used to tell me to move it. That's the first place burglars look, Maggie. But I'd never listened. Rachel could come back, any time. She could walk into my house while I was sleeping, while I was at the grocery store, any time. I checked the doors, front and back, both locked, checked the windows, all locked. But I couldn't shake the feeling, the vulnerability, the fear that she might be out there. Desperate. Dangerous. I pulled out Karen Brennan's number again. The notary. The one who'd stamped her seal on my forged signature. I hung up the phone with the county office. The notary's name was on file. Karen Brennan. I didn't know her. But I was going to find her. Because if Rachel forged my signature, someone helped her do it. And I needed to know who. I needed to know how. I needed proof. And I wasn't going to stop until I had it. I drove to Karen Brennan's office on Tuesday morning. The GPS said 23 minutes. I gave myself 40. I didn't trust my driving. My hands were steady on the wheel, but my mind kept replaying that signature, the one that wasn't mine. Her office was in a strip mall on Route 34, between a nail salon and a tax preparation service, Mobile Notary Services. The sign was small, professional. A bell chimed when I opened the door. Karen Brennan was younger than I'd expected, maybe 48, blonde hair pulled back, reading glasses on a chain around her neck. She looked up from her computer and smiled. "Can I help you?" I pulled the quitclaim deed from my purse, set it on her desk. "Do you remember notarizing this?" She picked it up, adjusted her glasses, read it. "June 14th. Yes, let me check my log." She opened a drawer, pulled out a black binder, flipped through pages, ran her finger down a column. Here it is, June 14th, 2 o'clock, Margaret Collins. You came in with your driver's license. I verified the ID. You signed the document. I witnessed and notarized. I pulled out my cruise boarding pass, set it next to the deed. I was on a ship in Alaska on June 14th. Princess Cruises. I boarded in Seattle on June 12th. I didn't disembark until June 26th. Karen stared at the boarding pass. The photo of me at the welcome party, champagne glass, blue dress, glacier backdrop, date stamp, June 14th, 2025, 7:32 p.m. Alaska time. She looked at the deed, at the notary log, back at the boarding pass. Her face went pale. "Oh my God," she said. "Your daughter. She came in. She showed me an ID with your name. Margaret Collins. Driver's license. Illinois. I checked it. The photo looked like her. I thought she was you. She's 42. I'm 68. The photo was small, and she had your birth date on the ID. Everything matched. I swear I checked it thoroughly." Karen's hands were shaking now. She set down the boarding pass, looked at me. "I notarized a forgery. Oh my God, I could lose my license. I could be charged as an accessory." "You didn't know," I said. "She fooled you." "But I'm supposed to verify. That's my job, to make sure the person signing is who they say they are." She pulled out her notary stamp from the drawer. Brass, official, her seal. "This stamp. She used my stamp to steal your house." I sat in Karen's office, holding that boarding pass, the photo of me smiling at the ship's welcome party. The same date Rachel had forged my name, June 14th. I wasn't confused. I wasn't forgetful. My daughter had stolen my house while I was watching whales breach in Alaska. She'd done it with planning, with premeditation, with a fake ID and a notary's stamp and a smile, the smile she'd given me before the cruise. "Have fun, Mom. You deserve it." And she deserved my house. "I'll testify," Karen said, "if you need me to. I'll tell the court exactly what happened. I'll give you my records, my log, everything. Thank you." I left Karen's office with copies of everything: her notary log, the entry for June 14th, Margaret Collins, 2 p.m., a photocopy of the signature in her log, Rachel's handwriting, not mine. I drove home, made coffee, spread everything on the dining room table: the forged deed, the boarding pass, Karen's records, Rachel's credit card statement. I called my bank, asked for copies of Rachel's account history. I'd co-signed for her years ago when she'd opened her first checking account at 18. I'd forgotten I was still on the account. The bank representative said she'd email the statements. They arrived an hour later. I opened the attachment, scrolled through. Rachel's checking account balance, negative $462. Overdraft fees, $35, again and again, 7 times in the last 3 months. Her savings account, $18.43. The credit card statement I'd found, $47,312. I Googled her address, found the property records, her rental house. Foreclosure proceedings filed April 3rd. Amount owed, $16,244. I added it up. $47,000, $16,000. Overdraft fees, bounce checks, late payments. Rachel owed at least $89,000, probably more. My house was worth $380,000. She was going to sell my house, pay her debts, walk away with $300,000, and I would be homeless. That afternoon, I made an appointment with an attorney. Linda had given me a name, David Morrison, elder law. His office was downtown, 23rd floor, windows overlooking the lake. David Morrison was 56, salt and pepper hair, reading glasses, a photo of an older woman on his desk, his mother maybe. He kept a box of tissues on the corner of the desk. Clients cried in his office. I showed him everything: the deed, the boarding pass, Karen's notary log, Rachel's financial records. He read through it all, made notes, didn't say anything until he'd finished. "Mrs. Collins, this is fraud," he said. "Clear fraud. Your daughter forged your signature on a legal document transferring property ownership. That's identity theft, forgery, elder financial abuse. Can we void the deed? Yes, the deed is fraudulent. We'll file a motion with the court. It'll be voided. Your property will be returned to you. How long will that take? A few weeks. Maybe a month. Depends on the court calendar. We'll need to serve Rachel with notice. She'll have a chance to respond, but with this evidence, it's pretty clear-cut. What about criminal charges? David set down his pen, looked at me over his glasses. That's up to you. We can refer this to the district attorney. Your daughter could be charged with forgery. That's a Class 3 felony in Illinois. 2 to 5 years in prison. Identity theft. Another 2 to 5. Elder abuse. That adds time. 2 to 5 years. Rachel could go to prison. I need to think about it, I said. Of course. But Mrs. Collins, you need to understand. Your daughter didn't just forge a signature. She obtained a fake ID with your information. She found a notary. She filed the deed with the county. She planned this. For weeks, maybe months. This wasn't an impulse, this was calculated. I thought about the lawyer receipt. Goodman and Associates. May 28th. 2 weeks before the cruise. Rachel had consulted an attorney about the foreclosure, and then she decided to steal my house. What do I do now? I asked. We file the motion, we gather evidence, we prepare for court, and you protect yourself. Change your locks, monitor your credit. Make sure she doesn't have access to any other accounts. I left David's office with a folder full of documents, a retainer agreement, instructions, a timeline. Back home, I opened my laptop, logged into my email, searched Rachel's name. There. An email from 3 months ago, Rachel to someone named Mike Henderson. Subject, real estate question. I opened it. Mike, once I get the deed transferred, how fast can we list the property? I need to close ASAP. Market value around $380K. Mom won't be living there anymore, so we can show it any time. Let me know timing. Thanks, Rachel. She'd planned to sell the house 3 months ago, before the lawyer consultation, before the forgery. She'd been planning this for months. I kept searching, found another email. Rachel to the same Mike Henderson. 2 weeks ago. Mike deed is filed with the county as of June 15th. I'll have a copy of the recorded deed next week. Can you start the listing paperwork? I want this done by end of July. Rachel, end of July. That was 3 weeks from now. I called the title company listed in the email signature, Henderson Realty and Title. Asked for Mike Henderson. Mr. Henderson is with a client. Can I take a message? This is regarding a property at 847 Maple Grove Lane. I understand there's been some discussion about listing it. Oh yes, we've been working with Rachel Collins on that. She completed a preliminary title search last week. We're just waiting for the final documents. Has she scheduled any showings? Not yet. She said she wanted to clear out some personal items first. She mentioned her mother had lived there but was moving to assisted living. Is this regarding the estate? Assisted living. Rachel had told them I was moving to assisted living. No, I said. This is Margaret Collins, the property owner. That deed is fraudulent. No one has permission to sell this house. There was a pause. I see. Let me have Mr. Henderson call you back. I hung up, sat at the kitchen table. The evidence spread out in front of me like a crime scene. The deed, the notary log, the boarding pass, the bank statements, the emails, the title company records. Rachel hadn't just forged my signature. She'd created a fake ID. She'd lied to a notary. She'd filed the deed with the county. She'd contacted a real estate agent. She'd scheduled a title search. She'd told people I was moving to assisted living. She'd planned to make me homeless, and she'd been smiling the whole time. Linda called, offered to come over. I told her what I'd found. I'll write it all down, she said. Everything I saw, the date, the time, the man with the briefcase, Rachel carrying the boxes. I'll sign it. You can give it to your lawyer. Thank you. That night, I couldn't sleep. I got up at 2 a.m., made tea, chamomile. Tom used to make it for me when I couldn't sleep, but Tom wasn't here, and I couldn't sleep anyway. I spread everything on the dining room table again, the deed, the bank statements, The emails, the lawyer's notes. It looked like a crime scene. I made tea, chamomile. Tom used to make it for me when I couldn't sleep, but Tom wasn't here, and I couldn't sleep anyway. The evidence was overwhelming, irrefutable. My daughter had stolen my house, and she'd done it while I was watching whales. David Morrison called the next morning. "Mrs. Collins, I've prepared the motion. We can file it today. But I need to tell you something. Once we file, this becomes public. Your daughter will know. She'll hire an attorney. This will go to court." "I understand." "And Mrs. Collins, you need to prepare yourself. This will likely be adversarial. She won't go down without a fight. You'll have to face your daughter in court. You'll have to testify. And it won't be easy." I looked out the window. At my house, at the rose bushes I'd planted 20 years ago, at the driveway where Tom used to park his truck. "File it," I said. David Morrison handed me a document. "We'll file this motion to void the deed, but Mrs. Collins, you need to prepare yourself. This will likely go to court. You'll have to face your daughter, and she won't go down without a fight." I took the document, read through it. Motion to void fraudulent quitclaim deed. My name, Rachel's name, all the evidence laid out in legal language. "How long?" I asked. 30 days for her to respond. Then we'll get a hearing date. Probably another month after that, 6 to 8 weeks total. 6 to 8 weeks, and then I'd stand in a courtroom and face my daughter. "Okay," I said, "do it." 20 years ago, we'd gone to dinner after Rachel's college graduation. The three of us, Tom and me and Rachel. A nice restaurant downtown, white tablecloths, candles. Tom had made reservations weeks in advance. Rachel wore her cap and gown to dinner, kept the tassel on, navy blue, the school colors. She'd graduated magna cum laude, English literature, my daughter, an English major like her mother. Tom ordered champagne. We toasted. To Rachel, to her future, to the $85,000 in student loans we'd just paid off so she could start her life debt-free. Rachel had stood up, given a speech, right there in the restaurant. Other diners turned to look. She didn't care. She was young, 22, beautiful, full of hope. "Mom, Dad, you sacrificed everything for me," she'd said. "You gave up vacations, you drove old cars, you worked extra jobs, all so I could have this degree, this future. I promise you. I promise I'll make you proud. I'll make it worth it. Everything you gave me, I'll pay back. Not in money, but in the life I build, the person I become. I love you both so much." Tom had cried. Actually cried, tears running down his face. He'd squeezed my hand under the table. I'd believed her, every word. Now I sat at the kitchen table, 2 a.m, alone. Evidence spread out in front of me. The forged deed, the bank statements, the emails, the lawyer's consultation notes. That graduation photo was on the wall behind me. Rachel in her cap and gown, smiling, tassels swinging, the future ahead of her. When did she stop being my daughter and start being a stranger? I stood up, walked to the hallway, looked at all the photos. Rachel at 5, gap-toothed, pigtails. Rachel at 16, prom dress, nervous smile. Rachel's first wedding, white dress, flowers in her hair. I'd paid for that wedding, $12,000. I'd paid for everything, and she'd forged my signature while I was on a cruise ship. I took down the graduation photo. The frame was heavy, oak. I'd bought it special. Wanted something nice for such an important moment. I carried it to my home office. Found a cardboard box in the closet. Wrote evidence on the side with a marker. I put the photo in the box, face down. I went back to the hallway, took down the prom photo, the wedding photo, the one from her college apartment. All of them, one by one, into the box, face down. I wasn't erasing her. I wasn't throwing them away, but I couldn't look at them anymore. Couldn't see those smiles, those promises, those lies. I'd spent 42 years being a mother, putting her first, saying yes when I should have said no, avoiding conflict, keeping the peace, being the helpful mother, the good mother, the mother who never set boundaries. I thought avoiding conflict meant keeping peace, but it meant letting her walk all over me. I'd thought being a good mother meant always saying yes, but it meant enabling her, hurting her by helping too much. Tom had known. He'd tried to tell me. She needs to figure it out herself, Maggie. But I hadn't listened. I should have listened. I put the box in the closet, closed the door. Then I picked up my phone, called David Morrison, left a voicemail. It was 2:30 in the morning, but I didn't care. David, this is Margaret Collins. File the motion. I want a court date. Call me in the morning. I hung up, made coffee even though it was the middle of the night, sat at the kitchen table, thought about what Tom had said. Keep the house in your name. Protect yourself. I was going to protect myself, starting now. At 8 a.m., I called a locksmith, Gold Star Security. They could come that afternoon. I need all the locks changed, I said. Front door, back door, garage, everything. Standard locks or high security? High security, the best you have. We can do that. Brass deadbolts, pick resistant, I'll bring samples. The locksmith arrived at 2 p.m. His name was Ron, 60 years old, retired police officer. He looked at my current locks, shook his head. These are builder grade, he said. Somebody determined could get through these in about 90 seconds. Can my daughter get through them? Does she have a key? She knows where I keep the spare. Then yes, easily. Change everything. Ron got to work, drilling, hammering, installing. The sound echoed through the house. Tom's house. My house. The house Rachel had tried to steal. I sat in Ron's truck while he changed the front door lock, watched through the windshield, the old lock coming off, the new one going in, brass, heavy, secure, 42 years a mother, 5 years a widow, now becoming something else, a woman who wouldn't be stolen from, even by her own daughter. Ron finished at 5 p.m., handed me 3 new keys, gold, shiny. These are yours, he said. I recommend you only make one spare, and don't hide it under the mat. That's the first place people look. I know. My husband used to tell me that. Smart man. I paid Ron $850, worth every penny. I called Linda. Can you come over? She arrived 10 minutes later. I handed her one of the new keys. This is for emergencies, I said. If something happens to me, if you need to get in, but don't tell anyone you have it. Not even Rachel? Especially not Rachel. Linda took the key, looked at me. You're doing the right thing. Am I? She's my daughter. She forged your signature. She tried to steal your house. That's not being a daughter. That's being a criminal. Linda left. I locked the door behind her. The new lock was stiff, unfamiliar, but solid. Safe. I went online, ordered security cameras, Ring, the ones that connect to your phone, front door, back door, garage. They'd arrive in 2 days. I called my bank, asked to open a new checking account, one Rachel didn't know about, transfer my Social Security direct deposit to the new account, close the old account she had access to. Is there a problem with your current account? The poor banker asked. Someone has unauthorized access. We can freeze that account immediately and... No, just open a new one. Transfer everything. Close the old one next week. I didn't want Rachel to know yet. Didn't want her panicking, making things worse. I needed time to prepare, to build my case, to protect everything. By 7 p.m., I'd done it all. Changed the locks, ordered cameras, opened a new bank account, called the attorney, told Linda what was happening. I sat on the couch, looked around my living room. The walls where Rachel's photos had been, empty squares, lighter paint where the frames had hung for years. The house felt different, quieter, but not empty. Not anymore. It felt like mine again. I picked up my phone, looked at the new key on the table. Gold, shiny, 3 copies Ron had made. One for me, one for Linda, one spare in my safe deposit box at the bank. Rachel wouldn't be getting one. That door was locked, and I had the only key that mattered. That. David Morrison filed the motion on Thursday morning. Motion to void fraudulent quitclaim deed. Plaintiff, Margaret Collins. Defendant Rachel Marie Collins. The court clerk stamped it, filed it. Rachel had 30 days to respond. "She'll need an attorney," David said. "Once she's served with this, she'll have to hire someone, or the court will appoint a public defender." "What will she say?" "She'll probably claim you gave her permission, that you signed willingly, that you're confused now, elderly, not remembering things clearly." "I'm 68, not elderly." "In court, you're a vulnerable senior. Elder abuse cases get taken seriously. That works in our favor." The server delivered the papers to Rachel's address on Friday afternoon. Signed receipt. Rachel Collins. She'd gotten them. My phone rang that night. "Rachel." I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. "Mom, what the hell? You sued me? Your own daughter? Over a misunderstanding? This is insane. We can fix this. Just drop the lawsuit. Please, call me back." I deleted the message. David had told me not to engage. "Everything you say can be used in court. Let the attorneys handle it." 2 weeks later, David called. "Rachel hired a lawyer, Richard Chen, cheap attorney. Does a lot of DUIs and small claims. He filed a response." "What does it say?" "That you verbally agreed to transfer the property. That you signed the deed willingly in early June. That you're now experiencing memory issues and confusion due to your age. That this is a family misunderstanding, not fraud." "That's a lie." "I know. We have the cruise records, the notary's testimony, the fake ID, but this is what we're dealing with. She's going to fight this." David subpoenaed Rachel's financial records, bank statements, credit card bills, loan documents, everything. The records arrived 3 weeks later. David spread them on his conference table. I sat across from him. His office was quiet except for the clock on the wall. "Your daughter's in serious trouble," he said. "Credit cards, $47,000. Foreclosure on her rental house, $16,000. Personal loans, $18,000. Medical bills, $9,000. Various collection agencies, $12,000. He looked up at me. "Total debt, $127,000. $127,000? More than I'd thought." "Your house is worth $380,000, David continued. "If she'd sold it, she'd have walked away with over $250,000 after paying her debts. That's motive. She was going to make me homeless." "Yes, but I don't think she saw it that way. The emails suggest she thought you'd move in with her, or into assisted living. She didn't think she was making you homeless. She thought she was solving her problems and yours." "By stealing my house." "Yes." Rachel's attorney called David a week later, requested a meeting, settlement discussion. David's office was on the 23rd floor, windows, overlooking the lake. It was mid-July, hot. The lake was blue and calm. David explained the settlement offer. Rachel would sign the house back to me, return full ownership. In exchange, I wouldn't pursue criminal charges. It sounded reasonable. "What's the catch?" I asked. David pushed the document across the table. Page 3, paragraph 7. "The plaintiff agrees to pay all legal fees incurred by the defendant in this matter." "She wants me to pay her lawyer?" $15,000. That's his estimate for taking this to trial. "I won't pay for her to steal from me." "I know, I told him that, but I wanted you to hear the offer." I sat in David's office. The clock on the wall ticked, loud. He'd explained the settlement offer 3 times. Rachel would sign the house back. I wouldn't press charges, but I'd pay her legal fees, $15,000. I watched the clock secondhand. Each tick felt like a choice. "Tell him no," I said. David nodded. "I thought you'd say that. I'll let him know." The settlement talks collapsed by the end of the day. That evening, Rachel showed up at my house. I was in the kitchen making dinner. Heard a car in the driveway. Looked out the window. Rachel's car, silver Honda. She got out, walked to the front door. I didn't open it. She knocked. "Mom, I know you're home. Your car's here." I stood in the hallway, didn't move. She knocked again, harder. "Mom, we need to talk. This is ridiculous. Open the door." I stayed silent. She tried the door handle. It didn't turn. The new lock held. "Mom!" Her voice was louder now, angry. "Open the door! This is my house too! I have the deed!" I pulled out my phone, called Linda. "Rachel's here," I said quietly. "She's at the front door. She won't leave." "I'm calling the police." "Thank you." Rachel was pounding now. "You can't do this. It's my house. I have the deed. You gave it to me." I heard Linda's voice outside. "Rachel, you need to leave." "Stay out of this, Linda." "I've called the police. They're on their way." "The police? Are you kidding me? I'm her daughter." "And you're trespassing. The locks are changed. You don't live here. Leave." A police cruiser pulled up 5 minutes later. 2 officers. They talked to Rachel. I couldn't hear what they said, but Rachel got in her car, drove away. One of the officers knocked. I opened the door this time. "Mrs. Collins, I'm Officer Martinez. Are you all right?" "Yes, thank you for coming." "Your daughter says there's a property dispute, that she owns this house. There's a court case. She forged my signature on a deed. My attorney filed a motion to void it. Do you want to file a restraining order?" "I don't know." He handed me a business card. "Ma'am, you might want to consider it. Your daughter seems unstable. If she comes back, call us immediately. Don't engage with her. Don't open the door." After the police left, I stood at the window. My new locks gleamed. Brass. The locksmith had said they were top grade. Rachel's car was gone. Linda waved from her porch. I waved back. My arm felt heavy. Everything felt heavy. Carol called the next day from book club. I hadn't been to a meeting in 3 weeks. "Maggie, I heard about the lawsuit from Linda. I have to say I'm surprised." "Surprised?" "That you'd take your own daughter to court over a house. I mean, she's your daughter. Maybe you could just let her have it? She's struggling. You could move into something smaller, an apartment. You don't need all that space." I didn't say anything for a moment. "Carol, she forged my signature. She tried to steal my house. That's not a family disagreement, that's fraud." "But she's your daughter. Family should forgive. My mother always said family comes first." "Even when family steals from you?" "It's just a house, Maggie. It's my home. It's my security. It's all I have." "Well, I just think you're being a bit harsh. That's all. I'll see you at book club when you're ready." She hung up. I sat at the kitchen table. Realized some people wouldn't understand. Some friends would judge, would think I should just let it go, keep the peace, be the good mother. But I wasn't going to do that anymore. Joan called an hour later. Different Joan. Not Carol. Joan Martinez from book club. The one who always brought cookies. We'd sat next to each other for 5 years. "Maggie, Linda told me what happened. I wanted you to know I support you. 100%. Thank you. My son. He's been estranged for 8 years. Over money. He took out credit cards in my name. Stole my identity. I didn't press charges. I should have. I let him get away with it because he was my son, and now he's done it to his aunt, my sister. I taught him he could. I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. You're doing the right thing. You're protecting yourself. That's not selfish. That's survival." Joan's words stayed with me. "You're protecting yourself. That's not selfish. That's survival." David called that afternoon. "Mrs. Collins, I got a call from Rachel's attorney. They want to try mediation before we go to trial." "What's mediation?" "A neutral third party, a mediator. They sit both sides down, try to find a resolution without going to court." "Do I have to?" "No, but it's worth considering. If we can resolve this without a trial, it saves time, saves money." "Will Rachel be there?" "Yes." I thought about it, sitting across from Rachel, looking at her face, hearing her voice. "No," I said. "No mediation. I want my day in court." "All right, I'll let them know." The next week felt long, waiting, watching. The security cameras I'd ordered arrived. I installed them myself, front door, back door, garage, connected them to my phone. Now I could see who was at my house. even when I wasn't there. One afternoon, I went to the grocery store, came home, pulled into the driveway. The garage door was up. I stopped the car. I hadn't left it up. Had I? My heart pounded. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the camera app, checked the garage camera. Nothing. Empty. No movement. I got out slowly, walked to the garage, looked inside. Everything was the same. Tom's workshop, his tools, my car's usual spot. No one was there. Then I remembered. I'd taken out the trash that morning. Garbage day. I'd gone through the garage, must have forgotten to close the door, just the wind, that's all. But my hands were shaking. Rachel was desperate. Rachel had tried to steal my house. What if she tried something else? I checked every window, every door, all locked. The cameras were recording. Linda was watching, but I couldn't shake the feeling, the vulnerability, the fear that she might be out there, planning something, desperate enough to do anything. My financial advisor called, George Brennan. No relation to Karen the notary. I'd been working with him for 15 years, since Tom died. Margaret, I heard about the lawsuit. I wanted to check in, make sure your accounts are secure. I opened a new checking account. Rachel doesn't have access. Good. What about your investment accounts? Does she have power of attorney? No. Beneficiary? I paused. Yes. She's the beneficiary on my IRA and my life insurance. You might want to consider changing that, at least temporarily, until this is resolved. Can I do that? Yes, it's your account. You can name anyone you want, a charity, a trust, whatever you prefer. I thought about it. Rachel had tried to steal my house. What if something happened to me? Would she inherit everything anyway? Change it, I said. Make the beneficiary, I don't know, the American Cancer Society. Tom died of cancer. He would have liked that. I'll send the paperwork. That night, I reviewed everything I'd done. New locks, security cameras, new bank account, changed beneficiaries, attorney filed motion, evidence gathered. I'd built a fortress around my house, around my life, around myself, and Rachel was on the outside. The police officer's card was still on my kitchen counter. Officer Martinez. He'd said I might want to consider a restraining order. I picked up the phone, called David. I want to file for a restraining order, I said. Based on what happened last week? Her coming to the house? Yes, she was pounding on the door, yelling. She wouldn't leave until the police came. That's enough for a temporary order. I'll file the paperwork tomorrow. I hung up, looked out the window at my house, my yard, my rose bushes that still needed deadheading. The police officer handed me a business card. Ma'am, you might want to consider a restraining order. Your daughter seems unstable. I looked at the card, then at my house, my home, and I knew this wasn't over, not even close. 6 weeks of legal maneuvering brought us here. Courtroom 4B, Cook County Circuit Court, Judge Patricia Williamson presiding. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, rows of benches like church pews. A clerk sat at a desk below the judge's bench, a court reporter with her stenography machine. David Morrison sat to my right, navy suit, reading glasses, his briefcase open on the table, documents organized, evidence labeled. We'd prepared for 2 weeks, gone over everything, every question, every answer, every piece of evidence. Rachel sat at the defendant's table, 10 feet away, close enough that I could see her face. She'd lost weight. Her hair was pulled back. She wore a gray dress, professional, like she was going to a job interview. Her attorney sat next to her, Richard Chen, cheap suit, younger than I'd expected, maybe 35. The bailiff called the court to order. All rise. Judge Williamson entered. Black robe, gray hair pulled into a bun, maybe 60, reading glasses on a chain. She sat. We sat. Case number 2025-CH-19847, the clerk read. Margaret Collins versus Rachel Collins. Motion to void fraudulent. Quitclaim deed. Judge Williamson looked at David. "Counsel for the plaintiff?" David stood. "David Morrison, Your Honor, elder law representing Margaret Collins." "Counsel for the defendant?" Richard Chen stood. "Richard Chen, Your Honor, representing Rachel Collins." Judge Williamson opened the file, read for a moment, set it down. "Mr. Morrison, this is your motion. Proceed." David stood. "Your Honor, this is a straightforward case of forgery and elder financial abuse. On June 14, 2025, Rachel Collins forged her mother's signature on a quitclaim deed transferring property ownership from Margaret Collins to herself. At the time of the alleged signing, Mrs. Collins was on a cruise ship in Alaska. She had no knowledge of this document. She did not consent to the transfer. She did not sign this deed." Judge Williamson looked at Rachel's attorney. "Mr. Chen, your response?" Chen stood. "Your Honor, this is a family dispute. My client maintains that Mrs. Collins verbally agreed to transfer the property. There was a prior discussion about estate planning. Mrs. Collins is 68 years old. It's possible she doesn't clearly remember the conversation. This is a misunderstanding between mother and daughter, not fraud." "We'll hear the evidence," Judge Williamson said. "Mr. Morrison, call your first witness." The plaintiff calls Karen Brennan. Karen walked to the witness stand, raised her right hand. The clerk swore her in. She sat, looked nervous, her hands folded in her lap. David approached. "Ms. Brennan, please state your occupation." "I'm a mobile notary public, licensed in Illinois." "Did you notarize a quitclaim deed on June 14, 2025? "Yes, for a property transfer. Margaret Collins to Rachel Collins." "Can you describe what happened that day?" Karen took a breath. Woman came to my office. She showed me an Illinois driver's license. The name on the license was Margaret Collins. The photo looked like her. The birth date matched. I verified the ID according to standard procedure. She signed the document. I witnessed the signature. I notarized it." "Was the woman who came to your office the plaintiff, Margaret Collins?" Karen looked at me, then at Rachel. "No, it was the defendant, Rachel Collins. She showed me a fake ID with her mother's name." There was movement in the courtroom. The judge made a note. David held up a document. "Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence Exhibit A, Ms. Brennan's notary log from June 14th. "Admitted." David showed it to Karen. "Is this your log?" "Yes, that's my handwriting. Margaret Collins, 2 p.m. June 14th. "And this signature in your log, is that Margaret Collins's signature?" "No, I know that now. It's Rachel Collins's handwriting. She signed her mother's name in my log." David handed the log to the judge, walked back to the table. No further questions. Rachel's attorney stood. "Ms. Brennan, isn't it your job to verify identity?" "Yes." "And you failed to do that?" "I checked the ID. It looked legitimate." "But it wasn't. You notarized a fraudulent document." "I was deceived. The ID was fake, professional quality. I had no reason to doubt it." No further questions. Karen stepped down, walked back to the gallery, sat in the back row. David stood. The plaintiff calls Linda Patterson. Linda walked to the stand. She wore a blue dress, her church dress. She'd told me that this morning. "I want to look respectable for the judge." The clerk swore her in. Linda sat, folded her hands, calm. David smiled at her. "Ms. Patterson, how do you know the plaintiff?" "I'm her neighbor. I live next door. Have for 10 years. "Were you home on June 14th, 2025? "Yes. I'd been at my granddaughter's birthday party that morning. I got home around 1:30. "Did you see anything unusual?" "I saw Rachel Collins at Margaret's house, Mrs. Collins's house. Margaret was supposed to be on a cruise, but Rachel was there." "Was Rachel alone?" "No, there was a man with her, professional looking, suit and tie. He had a briefcase, one of those accordion folders." "What did you see them do?" "They went inside. Rachel had a key, I guess. They were there for about an hour. When they came out, Rachel was carrying boxes, file boxes, 3 or 4 of them, heavy. She had to make 2 trips to her car." Did you speak to Rachel? I waved. She didn't wave back, just got in her car and left. The man left separately. He drove a gray sedan. Did you tell Margaret Collins about this? Yes, after she got home. I thought she'd known Rachel was there, but she didn't. Thank you, Ms. Patterson. No further questions. Rachel's attorney stood. Ms. Patterson, you didn't actually see what was in those boxes, did you? No. So you don't know if they were Margaret Collins's documents or Rachel Collins's documents? Rachel doesn't live there. That's not what I asked. No, I don't know what was in the boxes. No further questions. Linda stepped down, sat next to Karen in the gallery. David stood. Your Honor, I'd like to call 3 additional witnesses whose testimony will be brief. First, James Rivera from Princess Cruises. Second, Dr. Ellen Martinez, handwriting expert. Third, George Brennan, financial advisor. Judge Williamson nodded. Proceed. The cruise representative testified that Margaret Collins boarded the ship in Seattle on June 12th, disembarked June 26th. Ship records confirmed her presence on June 14th. She couldn't have been in Illinois. The handwriting expert testified that the signature on the quitclaim deed did not match Margaret Collins's known signature. Different letter formation, different pressure, different writing style. The financial advisor testified that Rachel Collins had been listed as beneficiary on Margaret's IRA and life insurance. Margaret had recently changed those designations. Security precaution. He'd advised it given the circumstances. Rachel's attorney didn't cross-examine any of them. David walked to the evidence table, picked up 2 documents, approached the judge's bench. Your Honor, I'd like to present the central evidence in this case. Exhibit D, the fraudulent quitclaim deed filed with the county on June 15th, and Exhibit E, the original deed from 1985 when Margaret Collins and her late husband purchased the property. The judge took both documents, held them side by side. David set up an easel, projected images on a screen, the 2 deeds, side by side, enlarged. The courtroom could see the signatures. Margaret Collins on both, but different, completely different. The signature on the left, David said, is from the original deed, 1985. Margaret Collins's genuine signature. Note the slant of the M, the loop in the G, the trailing S. He pointed to the right. This signature is from the quitclaim deed, June 2025. Note the straight M, the tight G, the abrupt S. This is not Margaret Collins's signature. This is a forgery. Judge Williamson examined the screen, looked at the documents in her hands, made notes. Additionally, Your Honor, we have Exhibit F Margaret Collins's passport with entry and exit stamps from her Alaska cruise. She was out of the country on June 14th. She could not have signed this document. David handed the passport to the judge. She reviewed it, set it aside. Mr. Morrison, does your client wish to testify? Yes, Your Honor. I walked to the witness stand, raised my right hand. The clerk swore me in. I sat, looked at the judge, not at Rachel. I couldn't look at Rachel yet. David approached. Mrs. Collins, did you sign the quitclaim deed dated June 14th, 2025? No, I did not. Did you give your daughter permission to sign your name? No. Did you give your daughter permission to transfer your property to herself? No, I knew nothing about it until I received a letter from the county recorder after I returned from my cruise. Mrs. Collins, why do you think your daughter did this? Rachel's attorney stood. Objection, speculation. Sustained, David rephrased. Mrs. Collins, did you subpoena your daughter's financial records? My attorney did, yes. What did those records show? That Rachel owes $127,000. Credit cards, foreclosure, loans. She's in serious financial trouble. And your house is worth how much? $380,000. No further questions. Rachel's attorney stood, approached me. Mrs. Collins, you love your daughter, don't you? Yes. You've helped her financially many times over the years? Yes. Over $160,000? Yes, approximately. You've always said you wanted her to have the house eventually, haven't you? I paused. I said someday the house would be hers, after I died, not now, not while I'm living. But you discussed transferring the property? She mentioned it. I said I'd think about it. I never agreed. You're 68 years old. Is it possible you don't remember clearly? I looked at him. I remember perfectly. I was on a cruise ship in Alaska when that document was supposedly signed. I have photos, boarding passes, ship records. I did not sign that deed, and I did not give her permission to sign it for me. No further questions. I started to stand. Judge Williamson stopped me. Mrs. Collins, before you step down, do you wish to make a statement? I looked at Rachel for the first time. My daughter. She was crying, mascara streaked, broken. When the judge asked if I had anything to say, I looked at Rachel. My daughter, the baby I'd raised, and I realized I loved her, but I couldn't let her destroy me. I turned back to the judge. Your Honor, I gave my daughter everything I had, my time, my money, my love. I paid for her college education, $85,000. I gave her the down payment for her first house, $40,000. I bailed her out of debt, again and again, but I won't give her my home. I won't give her my security. I'm 68 years old. I've been a widow for 5 years. This house is all I have. It's not just property, it's my independence. It's where I wake up every morning knowing I'm safe. This is elder abuse, and I want my house back. The courtroom was silent. Judge Williamson wrote something down. Rachel was sobbing now. Her attorney put a hand on her shoulder. Judge Williamson looked at Rachel. Ms. Collins, would you like to make a statement? Rachel stood, wiping her eyes. Your Honor, I didn't mean to hurt my mom. I was desperate. I lost my job, my house, everything. I owe so much money. I thought she'd understand. I thought I could sell the house and she could live with me. I wasn't going to make her homeless. I was going to let her live there. I needed the money. Her voice cracked. The house is going to be mine anyway when she dies. I needed it now. I didn't think she'd be this upset. She's my mom. She's always helped before. Judge Williamson's expression didn't change. Ms. Collins, you forged your mother's signature? Rachel looked down. Yes. You obtained a fake ID? Yes. You lied to a notary? Yes. You filed a fraudulent deed with the county? Yes, but you didn't think it was illegal? Rachel didn't answer. Judge Williamson closed the file, looked at both attorneys. I don't need to deliberate. This is one of the clearest cases of deed fraud I've seen in 20 years on the bench. She looked at me, then at Rachel. The quitclaim deed dated June 14, 2025, is hereby declared void. It is fraudulent. It was executed without the knowledge or consent of Margaret Collins. Full property ownership is returned to Margaret Collins, effective immediately. Furthermore, I am referring this case to the District Attorney's Office for Criminal Investigation. Ms. Rachel Collins, you may face charges of forgery, identity theft, and elder financial abuse. Additionally, I am granting a restraining order. Rachel Collins is prohibited from coming within 500 feet of Margaret Collins or her property. Finally, court costs in the amount of $18,000 are awarded to the plaintiff. Rachel Collins is responsible for payment. Judge Williamson looked at Rachel. Ms. Collins, you didn't just make a mistake. You didn't just borrow money from your mother. You stole her house. You forged legal documents. You committed fraud. The fact that she's your mother makes it worse, not better. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. I strongly suggest you seek treatment for your gambling addiction, and I strongly suggest you hope the district attorney shows more mercy than you showed your mother. Judge Williamson stood. This court is adjourned. The bailiff called out, "All rise." Everyone stood. Judge Williamson left through the door behind the bench. I sat down. My legs felt weak. David put his hand on my shoulder. "It's over. You won." But I didn't feel like I'd won. I felt exhausted, empty. I looked at Rachel. She was still crying. Her attorney was talking to her, quietly, trying to calm her. Linda appeared next to me, squeezed my hand, didn't say anything, didn't need to. I gathered my things, my purse, my copy of the evidence, David's business card, the courthouse information packet. Outside the courtroom, Rachel's attorney approached me, Richard Chen. He looked uncomfortable. "Mrs. Collins, my client would like to speak with you." I looked past him. Rachel was standing by her car in the parking lot, mascara streaked, broken. David touched my arm. "You don't have to." But I realized I did. One more time. The county recorder filed the new deed 2 weeks after the trial. Margaret Collins, sole owner. The clerk handed me a copy, official seal, recorded, filed, done. "There you go, ma'am," she said. "It's official now. The house is yours again." Again, as if it had ever stopped being mine. I took the document, drove home, put it in a frame, hung it in my home office, next to the voided, fraudulent deed. Before and after, theft and justice. The court ordered Rachel to pay $18,000, court costs, attorney fees. She didn't have it. The judge set up a payment plan, $200 a month. It would take 7.5 years. I didn't expect to see all of it. But the principle mattered. Accountability. The district attorney reviewed the criminal case, called me in for an interview. A prosecutor named Sarah Chen, no relation to Rachel's attorney. She laid out the charges Rachel could face: forgery, Class 3 felony, 2 to 5 years, identity theft, another 2 to 5, elder financial abuse, mandatory minimum. "We could put her away for a decade," Sarah said, "but I want to know what you want." What did I want? I'd asked myself that question every night since the trial. "I want her to get help," I said. "Treatment, for the gambling. She's sick. She needs help, not just prison." Sarah nodded. "We can offer a plea deal, probation, mandatory treatment program, Gamblers Anonymous, 3 meetings a week, random drug testing, restitution. If she violates, she goes to prison, full sentence." That sounds fair. Rachel took the deal. 5 years probation, inpatient treatment for 90 days, then outpatient, meetings, therapy, and she had to stay away from me. The restraining order was part of the deal, 500 feet, 5 years. I didn't go to her sentencing. David went. He called me after. She cried, apologized to the judge, said she'd do whatever it takes to get better. The judge told her this was her last chance. Linda brought coffee the morning after I got the new deed. We sat on my porch. The sun was warm. September. The air was starting to cool. "How are you doing?" she asked. "I'm okay. Tired, but okay." "You did the right thing." "Did I? She's my daughter." Linda squeezed my hand. "She stole your house, Maggie. You protected yourself. Tom would be proud." Tom would be proud. I hoped so. David Morrison called a week later. "I'd like to help you with estate planning, update your will, make sure everything's protected." We met at his office, 23rd floor, Lakeview. He'd become more than my attorney, a trusted advisor, someone I could rely on. "I'm recommending a trust," he said. "Transfer the house into it. You're the trustee. You control everything. But when you die, the house goes directly to the beneficiary. No probate, no opportunity for anyone to contest it. Who should the beneficiary be? That's up to you, a charity, a friend, a family member, anyone but Rachel." I thought about it. Tom had died of cancer. The American Cancer Society. That felt right. "The American Cancer Society," I said. "Unless Rachel completes treatment and stays clean for 2 years, then I'll reconsider." David made a note. "I'll draft that, conditional, 2 years sobriety and treatment completion. If she does that, you can change it. If not, the charity gets it." "What about power of attorney? Healthcare directive?" I'd recommend naming someone you trust, not family, given the circumstances. You, I said. David looked up. Me? You've been honest with me. Professional. I trust you. I'd be honored. We signed the paperwork that afternoon. New will, trust, power of attorney, healthcare directive, everything protected, everything secure. Joan from book club called later that week. Linda told me about the trial. I'm so proud of you. Would you want to come to a support group with me? Elder rights, first Tuesday of each month. I've been going for 6 months, since my son. It helps. I'll come, I said. That Saturday, I worked in the garden. The roses needed attention. I'd neglected them all summer, too focused on the lawsuit, too worried about the trial. I knelt in the dirt, same spot where I'd tried to deadhead roses 8 months ago, when I'd first found the deed, when my hands had been shaking, when I couldn't focus. This time, my hands were steady. I finished the job. I planted new flowers, petunias, purple and white, the kind that come back every year, perennials. They'd bloom next spring, and the spring after that, year after year, like me, still here, still standing. 8 months after the trial, a letter arrived. Rachel's handwriting. I almost threw it away, but I opened it. Mom, I know you won't read this. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know. I'm in treatment, real treatment this time. Gamblers Anonymous meetings 3 times a week, therapy twice a month. I haven't gambled in 90 days. I got a job, part-time, retail. It's not much, but it's honest. I know I almost destroyed you. I know I destroyed us. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I'm trying to become someone who deserves a mother like you, even if that mother isn't you anymore. I'm sorry. Rachel, I read it twice, set it down, didn't respond. 3 weeks later, Joan asked if I'd heard from Rachel. We were having coffee after the support group meeting. She sent a letter, I said. She's in treatment. Will you respond? I stirred my coffee. Maybe in a year, maybe 2, if she stays clean, if she proves she's changed. Maybe then we can talk. I looked at Joan. But I won't let her back in my house. That door is locked. Joan nodded. You're protecting yourself. That's not being mean. That's being smart. I took down the last of Rachel's photos from the guest room, the ones I hadn't boxed yet, put them in storage. Not destroyed, just away. I hung a new photo instead. Tom and me on our 40th anniversary, 5 years before he died. We'd gone to dinner. The same restaurant where we'd celebrated Rachel's graduation, white tablecloths, candles. Tom had ordered champagne. That photo, that memory, that's what I wanted to see. I framed the judge's ruling, hung it in my home office, next to the new deed, reminders of what I'd almost lost, of what I'd fought for, of what I'd won, my house, my independence, my dignity. The American Cancer Society sent a thank you letter. I'd made a donation, in Tom's name, told them they were the beneficiary of my estate. They sent a certificate, recognition of my pledge. I hung that too. Legacy. Not for Rachel, for something that mattered. I spoke at the senior center in November. Elder financial abuse awareness. 50 people attended, mostly women, mostly my age. I told my story, anonymously, changed the names, but the facts were the same. After, 3 women approached me. They had similar stories, sons, daughters, grandchildren, taking money, forging signatures, manipulating, stealing. What should I do? One woman asked. Protect yourself, I said. Talk to an attorney, document everything. Don't let family guilt stop you. It's not selfish to protect yourself. It's survival. I gave her David's card. 8 months after the trial, I wake up every morning in my house. My name on the deed, my locks on the doors, my keys in my pocket. My life. It's not the life I imagined 8 months ago. I thought I'd always have Rachel in my life. As my daughter, as my friend, maybe even living nearby someday. Grandchildren if she'd wanted them. But I have something more important now. I have my dignity. I have my home. And I have myself. The house is quiet in the mornings. I make coffee at 6. Tom's mug is still in the cabinet. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. The choice is mine. The garden is flourishing. Those purple and white petunias I planted came back this spring. Perennials. They'll come back next year too. And the year after that. The rose bushes are healthy. I deadheaded them last week, took my time, enjoyed it. My retirement is secure. The house is paid off, worth $380,000. It's mine, legally, officially, permanently. Some days I miss her, the daughter she was, not the woman who forged my name, but I don't regret protecting myself. Tom would have told me to. I wish I'd listened to him sooner. Linda still brings coffee some mornings. We sit on the porch. She doesn't ask about Rachel anymore. She knows. We talk about the garden club's plant sale, about the new family down the street, about normal things. It's enough. Joan and I attend the Elder Rights Support Group the first Tuesday of each month. We go for coffee after. She laughs more now. I do too. We understand each other, she said once. We do. I spoke at the senior center again last month. Larger crowd this time. 70 people. I told them about warning signs, red flags, what to watch for, how to protect themselves. A woman named Dorothy approached me after. 72. Her son had power of attorney, was draining her accounts. I gave her David Morrison's card. Call him today, don't wait. She called. David helped her. 6 months later, she got her money back. $60,000 her son had stolen. That's what came from all this. I help people now. Not many. One at a time. Quiet conversations. Business cards, phone numbers, resources. It's not what I planned for my retirement, but it matters. Rachel is still in treatment. I hear updates through her therapist, with my permission. The therapist calls every few months. She's doing well, working, attending meetings. 90 days clean became 6 months, then 8. Rachel sent another letter last month. I kept it. Didn't respond, but I kept it. Maybe in a year, maybe 2. If she stays clean, if she completes treatment, maybe then we can talk. But I won't let her back in my house. That boundary is permanent. People ask me what I learned. Book club friends, support group members, the women at the senior center. I learned this. You can love someone and still protect yourself from them. Those two things can exist at the same time. Being a good mother doesn't mean saying yes to everything. Sometimes it means saying no, setting boundaries, letting them face consequences. I thought avoiding conflict meant keeping peace, but it meant enabling, hurting her by helping too much. Tom knew that. He tried to tell me. I should have listened sooner, but I'm listening now. I'm 68 years old. I have good years ahead of me. Tom's been gone 5 years. Sometimes I think about dating, maybe traveling more. The Alaskan cruise was beautiful. Maybe Europe next time. Whatever I do, I'll do it knowing. Nobody can take my home from me again. I made sure of that. New locks, security cameras, trust, will, power of attorney, healthcare directive, everything protected, everything secure, my house, my friends, my terms. That's what independence looks like at 68. If you're listening to this and you're in a similar situation, if someone in your family is pressuring you about your house, your money, your assets, talk to someone, an attorney, adult protective services, a trusted friend. Don't ignore the red flags like I did. Don't wait until they forge your signature. Protect yourself. You're not being mean. You're being smart. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have pressed charges against your own child? Let me know in the comments. I sit in my living room most evenings. The house is quiet. Sometimes too quiet. But it's mine. And that's worth everything.